What's
How you
up,
doing
bro?
today? Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. We're back in the studio, JBR Experience, with episode number 2, and my best friend Alex with me. Yesterday we recorded, pretty good milestone um, session celebrating your 1 year. Talked about a little bit of your story. I mean, we didn't get like fully in depth. There's some stuff to still unpack there.
For sure.
But today is just gonna be focused on the mental health aspect, and mental health in general. It being Father's Day, men's mental health awareness, essentially for the month, and mental health that I struggled with, and that ties into your story too.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Just want to let you know how proud of you I am, and want to dedicate this episode to your dad, who's in heaven. Happy heavenly birthday yesterday.
Mm.
And dedicate this episode to Brent William Reese.
Yeah.
So let's get
Yep.
into it, bro.
Yep.
So
Happy birthday to my dad. It was his birthday yesterday,
yeah,
June 14th. So, which oddly enough is Flag Day too. So
yeah,
it's kind of cool to drive around and see all the flags out and just like know that it's my dad's day too. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, miss him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, no, diving into mental health, man. I think it's a topic that
It's not an easy topic.
it's not an easy conversation. It's also something that really doesn't get talked about enough in depth, to the point where it's I don't know, it's a weird gray area, to be honest, because like people do talk about it, but then a lot of people don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure.
I struggled with it tremendously when I got out of the Marine Corps back in July of 20. There was a lot of shit that happened in my life. And I guess if we just want to go down that road of that story, but which stories are stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got out of the Marine Corps, I downplayed the mental health aspect of getting out. I'd been in for 11 years. My transition as far as like landing a career and the amount of money I wanted to make, and I was going back to Moses Lake Industries where my dad worked. Like everything just lined up. Bought a house. Like everything was like picture perfect, and like so I downplayed the mental health aspect of things. I was like, I'm good. There's no way I'm gonna I'm not getting out because I'm angry. I'm not getting out because I'm pissed off. I'm getting out because it's time to move on.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
But that wasn't the case when I got out.
No.
And I'm not saying that because like, oh, this isn't going to turn into a veteran's mental health. It was more or less of like the downplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't pay attention to mental health in general.
Yeah.
They downplay like, oh, like the feeling of being depressed, or, or stuff's going on. Like, I'm good, especially us men.
Yeah, for sure.
You downplay it because like, shut up and color, right? Shut up and suppress your feelings, put the mask on, and just deal with it.
Man up kind of mentality.
Yeah, man up, man. And that's what I tried doing, and it didn't work. I got really good my whole life of wearing a mask at a young age, with my parents going through a divorce when I was 10, and my mom moving away to Idaho, and my sister leaving as well. It was just me and my dad, the bachelor pad. And my dad at that time, unfortunately, wasn't in tune with his emotions and wasn't emotionally available. And I learned how to just suppress shit.
Yeah.
At a very young age. And I think that's probably a lot more common than we think. And that translated into adulthood and whatever, right? But then after that, I found myself drinking a lot more when I got out.
Yeah.
And you know me, I don't do that shit.
To kind of like numb the feeling, numb the pain a little bit.
I don't even know why. I don't know why.
Just to experiment with alcohol.
Dude, I don't know why.
Just because it's there.
Yeah. I can't even give you an answer as to why I even started doing that. Having a mixed drink after work, or making a little fire in the backyard in the fire pit and drinking. But I don't know why I was doing that. Which then led to was just more often, right? And then I led into leaving the house and separating from that marriage I had, and which became an onslaught of shit.
Yeah.
an insane onslaught of
One
shit.
thing after another, losing your dad.
And then and that was the biggest pivotal moment after that was my dad
Mm-hmm.
leaving. Um, and that like that changed me to my core, you know.
So you felt like one thing was just stacking on
Mm-hmm.
one
Yeah,
thing after another.
it
When is this
was.
gonna end?
It
Why
was.
is this happening to me? You know, like
Yeah, it
just
was.
crazy, all kinds of different crazy emotions that you didn't really know how to handle, right?
Yeah, it was different amounts of things. I think that a lot of people downplay. You know, you lose as a man. You know, you lose your dad. You're like, dude, like it's my dad. You know, I really looked up to my dad, even though like my childhood probably like he was angry when I was growing up, and but you know, you get older, you get over shit. You know,
Right.
and you start to like really cherish the good times. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and get close and yeah. So when he passed, it was just one of those things that I knew was coming, but you're never prepared for it.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, it was one thing after another. The end of the marriage, which started an onslaught of stuff, and then losing my dad, and then losing two grandmas back to back, and then the hit of watching my stepdad and my mom get the news that my stepbrother got killed.
Yeah.
You know,
On
and
it's just
how
tragic.
that all affected. Not, I mean, not necessarily. It sucked getting that news, but watching what that did to my stepdad and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
For sure. For sure.
and how that affected everything. Um, but you know, we like with mental health, man, I think it's like a lot of people don't realize there's the signs and symptoms there and downplay it all, but then try to find a fix. And sometimes that fix is modern medicine and getting thrown on pills and antidepressants and this and that. And then they don't really change their lifestyle. Then you mix like antidepressants with like the alcohol or whatever. And that's not it, dude.
Or you go the route that I did and get into an active addiction that spiraled out of control for 12 years. You know,
Mm,
because that's how I coped and that's how I managed my stress and my emotions, is trying to numb those feelings with drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? So
mm-hmm.
that's where like the co-occurring symptoms and the co-occurring mental health aspects combine with addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, somebody who's an addict is going to have a mental illness.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, bro.
What?
Whether it be PTSD, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, whatever, dude. It's something that they have going on in their life or their head, like chemical imbalance,
Mm.
and they can't figure out what's going on. So they turn to whatever numbs that pain and makes them feel better
And
for that time. You know what I mean?
hard drugs is that.
And so
Yeah.
you didn't go that route. Um,
I
you
got
went kind of a different route. You know what I mean, to deal with your pain. And I kind of just want to like dive into that and kind of just like dissect what you were going through and like how you were feeling and some of the stuff that you did during that time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Um well, you know, there's portions of my story that a lot of people don't know.
yeah.
Um it's very select few do.
Mm-hmm.
Um you know some, your mom, my mom, my sister, my small group. I've talked about it a little bit online, not to the depths of what we'll get into right now.
Right.
Um because it's taken me a long time to get to that point to talk about it in a healthy way without like breaking down or feeling bad about it. Because you know, with mental health, there's a lot. The reason why I don't think the conversation happens is because a lot of people are embarrassed and or they're going to be judged or looked at differently
Mm-hmm.
or like, dude, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Of course. Guilt, shame,
yeah,
all
you
kinds
know,
of
like,
crazy emotions.
don't talk to him, he's crazy, or you can't say anything to him, he's gonna freak out about it because he has mental health.
Yeah.
He has mental health issues.
Right. Right.
People like blanket mental health into a wide, broad spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and that could be when you say mental health, you're like, okay, well, what do you struggle with? Is it depression? Is it anxiety? Do you have like some serious bipolar disorders? Do you have whatever? There's a onslaught of things.
Schizophrenia. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
The
all
list
sorts of
goes on.
stuff. And so to kind of go back into the story was like, you know, when I when my dad had passed December 14th of 20, I was at a point, it was kind of a weird pivotal point in my life where I was living in my mom's basement. Um, but when I got that phone call, again, that's just a core memory I'll never forget. Well, a bad core memory, I guess, if you will. But it was more or less of like, I remember I went into work. It was I think it was a Monday morning, um, and I logged in the computer and everything. And Lonnie Hart. I had a desk right next to Lonnie, and my phone started ringing. And I looked down. It was Carson. It was just OG's daughter, my stepsister, and like she never calls me
Mm-hmm.
ever, like And so as
Your
soon as
heart just stopped.
as soon as I saw her name come up, I just knew.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had previously to that, I went down and saw my dad as a surprise visit, like November 6th through the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised him, and before I even went down there, OG was like, "Hey, I want you to know, you see your dad, he's bad,
Yeah.
you know." And so,
ALS is no joke.
yeah, so, and I guess again, downplaying it. Well, thinking my dad's a superhero.
Yeah.
My dad's a big, buff, meaty, fucking gym dude.
Yeah.
How he was,
For sure. Nothing
and
ever got him down or stopped him.
yeah, I
Yeah.
always saw him that way,
Yeah.
and yeah, when I saw him, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't talk. He couldn't move. Uh, he was skin and bones, man. But I knew, damn. But I didn't know that was gonna be the last time I was gonna see him.
Mm-hmm.
So I embraced that moment, that weekend down in Texas. I fed him. I slept next to him in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But it was crazy because it was like, um, it like that weekend he was like had energy. That weekend he like wanted to watch the Seahawks game. That weekend, like I have videos of it, like he wanted me to go turn on his stereo and just crank the fucking music, and like was dancing and fucking toe tapping and
You got
doing all
some pretty
this,
cool videos of that
yeah,
too.
these all
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
So when I left, oh, it was hard,
Yeah. For sure.
but I already had another plan, like another planned trip
Yeah.
to like come down and see him for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think I was saying goodbye forever, right? So when I got the call and Carson's name come up on my phone, I knew this is the call that I'm dreading,
Yeah.
you know?
I can't even imagine.
And I picked up the phone and and she says, Jeremy, and I said, don't do it. Don't do it, man. Um, like, don't say it. But she did.
Yeah.
And I collapsed to the ground.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is like, there's people obviously working around me, and there's this gal I work with. Her name's Debbie. And she was like, I'll never forget hearing your scream.
Oh, you screamed, huh?
Yeah.
Fell and screamed.
Yeah. But that was kind of a huge pivotal point of like my mental health decline, a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left work. I don't know where the fuck I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I was going to do. So I called my ex-wife, in that moment and went there and called my sister and my mom, and my Aunt Jeanette was watching the kids. And yeah. And so, and the reason why I bring it all up because that was the transitioning point of like trying to figure out like my mental health in general, and was cycling through antidepressants, got put on Zoloft, and
Which
yeah,
is like the worst antidepressant you can be on.
yeah,
I've been there. Zoloft is horrible.
yeah,
The emotions are crazy. Can't control
yeah.
hardly anything.
And so, yeah. So 5 days after my dad passed, the 19th, I was at my house, um, editing photos, and I had my pistol on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I had paranoia. Like I was paranoid. I had, it was not me. and was having some arguments with my ex-wife and just different things, and was just triggered, and I literally pulled out my 9mm and my pistol, and dude just had it in my hand and fired 2 rounds into the computer screen that I was like looking at,
Yeah.
and then pressed the hot barrel up underneath my chin, dude, and started to pull the trigger. And and then I kind of like snapped to after like I felt the heat, under my chin, and knowing oh my god, dude, I fucked up. Like now I'm gonna go to jail. I'm like had to snap back to reality essentially, and grabbed the computer screen that was had bullet holes in it,
Mm.
threw in the back of my truck, and I was like, I'm just gonna drive out to like Lake Roosevelt and do it there.
To the cabin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just do it there, and just someone will find me eventually, and at
Mm.
least I'll be in a spot that's close to the cabin,
Yeah.
and I couldn't even make it down the road, man. I was hyperventilating, I was freaking out, I was crying, and so I just flipped back around and went and laid in the couch and waited, and she got home and walks into that slew of shit. My stepdad and my little brother and everybody just came over and ended up getting the gun from me, which was thank God. And at that point in time, I turned in all my guns to my stepdad, and just knowing that I wasn't right to have them.
Yeah.
But what was crazy is like even after all of that shit, dude, I went back to putting the mask on.
Yeah.
Went back into denial, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
You have a massively crazy mental health crisis. You almost oh, dude, I had the trigger like half pulled.
Yeah. It's a coping
It
mechanism
was
for sure.
I mean millimeters away of being gone.
Yeah.
And but went straight into denial. I'm fine, fine. And I was in therapy.
I'm a
You know,
Marine.
yeah,
I'm a man. This isn't,
and I
this
was in
isn't.
therapy too.
Yeah.
And so I'll just go keep going to therapy and just keep checking the box. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where the whole downplay started even more. And I wasn't okay.
Mm.
And then fast forward, and that was mid December, and then at that point in time, I hadn't seen my kids, because I was going through all that custody stuff, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I look back in the moment, I was like, dude, I'm getting everything taken away from me. They're keeping me from the kids, but like now I look back, I'm like, yeah, I had no right seeing the kids at that time. No right. I had no right of them even seeing me in the state that I was, and so you know, I'm thankful for that. But and then fast forwarded to like it was February 10th of 21, man, um, where I legitimately attempted.
Yeah.
Um, and that it was weird. It was like, and this is like where maybe you could comment on this, but like mental health is like doesn't discriminate if you're gonna have a good day or a bad day,
Mm.
right? Like was having a great day. I had gone to the gym. I was meal prepping, cooking that night. It was 10:30 at night. I was living out in my um my deceased grandma's house out on 10 acres um out in Ephrata. It
Yeah.
was like 10:30 at night, and I get a knock on my door, and I'm like, dude, who the hell is knocking on my door?
Mm.
It was a few sheriffs
Yeah.
served me a big old divorce packet, and that was the switch, and that's what made it go dark, really, really dark, and really, really fast. Um, and then I literally just said bucket and swallowed 50 antidepressants and laid
Yeah.
on the floor and accepted I was gonna die. And
Not even thinking about what you were doing because your brain is so, the chemical imbalance in your brain is just off. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because of this mental health that you're going through.
and I didn't think about anyone, man.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the kids. I didn't think about you and no one.
We
No
don't think
one.
about
My
anybody, man.
mom, nothing. And and what's weird, what's crazy about mental health is like when you're in that state,
Mm-hmm.
usually, typically, um, you have this thought process of like you're going through shit, you're struggling, whatever, but then you have this crazy thought process, and it's literally like insane to even say out loud. But it's like, well, because you see it, right? Okay, so someone passes away, then you see all the posts and you see all these like comments and people just like remembering them and posting the good times and the funny videos and the and just really just like flocking to this person, all the attention and like
Yeah.
everything. And you know what's insane to say is that you almost want that,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're going through shit and all this stuff, there's a lot of negative light on you, and there was a lot of negative light on me
Yeah.
because of my divorce and all the word was getting around town that I was fucking crazy. I was going off the deep end, and I was like, well, if I'm not fucking here, one, I don't have to deal with the shit, and then two, maybe people will just remember me for the good times,
Yeah.
and that's like insane to think about that you are willing to sacrifice your life in hopes that people just remember you for the good shit you did.
Right. Yeah, bro, that's insane. So like at this time, were you like photography wise, were you like
Yeah.
doing your business? Like did you have like clients that were reaching
Oh,
out to you that were just
no, I was fully operating my business. It wasn't. I mean, that was I had just gotten home, so I didn't really have an insane clientele.
yeah.
Um, because well, I started my business in 2018 when I was in San Diego in the
Mm-hmm.
Marine Corps, but I wasn't home, so there was a lot of people that knew I did photography, but couldn't book me obviously. So I was just on the brink of just getting home and kind of working,
Mm-hmm.
that. I got pretty heavily into real estate photography when I got home, with a few big name realtors. Um, but I didn't have the clientele like I do now. I didn't have the presence like I do
But you
now.
like so when you're going through that time, pop the pills, you don't know what's going on with the chemical imbalance in your brain. You're just going through shit. You're going through this time where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what do I do now? So like from that point, did you like take off or what did you decide to do?
The night I swallowed the
Yeah,
pills.
yeah,
Um, well, yeah. So swallowed the pills. I was on the phone with a certain someone. You know who I'm
yeah.
talking about. Starts with an S. Um, but I had hung up my phone and I just and I laid on the ground and I just thought to myself like, I just hope the kids know I love them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is like fucked up to think about. Like that's insane. But um, laid there and closed my eyes. I'm like, I'm just gonna die right here on the floor. Like I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I like it's almost like this tug and pull of like, oh well, you did it,
Yeah,
versus now buyer's remorse. You know, versus well, I mean, with pills, like it's not an instant, like it's like a gunshot,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you have this weird kind of time to reflect, if you will.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird space. Like
Like your conscience starts talking to you like, oh
it's
shit, what did I just do?
yeah,
Do I need to throw up? Do I need to like go to the ER?
yeah,
Do I call somebody? Like, what did you do?
right. And so in that time, I like was closing my eyes and I just had like God and like really like this just overwhelming pulling feeling of like just throw up, and I just kept like hearing that. So I rolled over and like stuck my fingers down my throat
Yeah.
and just forced myself to throw up.
Damn.
And I threw up and I saw the pills in my throw up, and I mean, I couldn't count them, but
Mm-hmm.
you could see the like little white specks. Some were dissolved and some whatever. And I lay back down, just kind of like at this point in time, my body was like kind of feeling a little weird.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course. You just popped 50 pills, man.
yeah. And
Our
so,
bodies are not meant to take that many pills.
yeah, there wasn't a long period of time that lapsed between consuming the pills to throw up. Like, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe. Um, but then I laid back down on the floor and then like another big pull. Just get your shoes on and leave. Just leave. Just leave. Okay. Put my shoes on and got in my truck, and I get out and I like look out to the right and there's like three sheriff cars sitting there.
Mm.
And I don't know if they were just still sitting there from when they served me the divorce papers, because there was probably an hour or so
Yeah.
after that, right? So I'm like, well, why would they just sit there that long? So I got in my truck thinking like, dude, they're gonna pull me over. Like they either made phone calls and they're back and they're just waiting for me to fucking leave to like trace me down. I don't fucking know.
So like you're paranoid.
I'm paranoid as fuck. And
That mental health thing, you know what I mean? It's still paranoid.
I was like, dude, like I'm just if they even try to fucking chase me, I'm running.
Right.
Running, dude. And no, I just drove right by. They just let me drive by. Just leisurely roll by. And then at that time I'm going down the gravel road and my mom's barreling towards the house.
Yeah. Because
And
she
she did,
called her, right?
yeah, she got called. And so my mom and Chris, and she
Oh, yeah.
didn't know that I was me leaving.
Right.
I drove right by her. It was like God was like, you need to just go,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I drove all the way out to Vantage, crossed the Vantage Bridge, the Columbia River, took Vantage exit, and went down by the river and parked in this little gully and left my truck running. And I said, if I wake up, I wake up. If I don't, I don't know.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
I have to
At that
accept
point,
it.
you wait, right? There's nothing else you can do besides wait.
So I fell asleep, and my legs were kind of tingling and feeling weird, and breathing was, I don't know, and my body was off, and I woke back up like around 3 or 4 a.m. and I had to turn my phone off too. I was like, I don't even want to deal with it, and drove home, and I was supposed to go to work that day. Like, how do you fucking go to work, right?
Yeah, you're not thinking about anything, not work, nothing.
So I called my sister and I go, sis, like, well, I turn my phone on and it's fucking like, I mean, million messages and craziness. And so I called my sister and I go, sis, it's time. Like, I need to go in. I need help. And so she escorted me to the ER, and called them prior, like, hey, we need suicide attempt, admittal and shit like that. And I got admitted to the ER and they kept me in the suicide room for about 8 hours.
Which is like total hell, right?
Yeah, you're just sitting there, just like it's like this blank room, and you can't access anything, and it's like like so
The
just
institutionalized,
pretty
pretty much.
much.
Yeah.
And so and I was there for 8 hours. They were monitoring my vitals every fucking hour, 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and my therapist walks in the room, and I can't even keep it together just looking at his eyes, and he coordinates with the VA, and then I get transported by hospital, dude, strapped down to a fucking gurney, cuffs and everything.
Totally like not expecting any of this because this is all.
This is shit you don't fucking realize happens,
I
man.
mean, like this is something that you're like experiencing for the first time, like this major low.
And you know what's crazy is like even after all of that shit, I'm in the ER and I go, I'm good.
Yeah, you put that mask on
I'm
again.
fine.
Yeah,
Not like, dude, what are you talking about? You're fine. You just fucking, are you kidding me?
yeah, yeah.
I'm good. Like, no, no, I don't want to go. I don't want, like, that's what's scary, dude.
Yeah, that's what
And
happens.
that's when you get so good at wearing a mask, right? You're able to talk yourself out of situations and
Mm-hmm.
present it, because then if people aren't trained to fucking know that shit, you get away with it.
Yeah,
And then you get away with it, you get away with it, and then the next time, there is no next time.
yeah.
So thankful they didn't let me do that. Even my mom was like, "We'll take him to the No, it was protocol that I get transported by ambulance.
So you get to Spokane. You went to Spokane,
Went
right?
to Spokane to
Yeah.
a mental health institution for a week, and it was hell,
Wow.
complete fucking hell. I got treated like dog shit, and I don't say that to like deter anyone from like doing inpatient intensive care,
Right, right.
but it was something that I needed because the first couple of days I was pushed back. I was like, dude, this is I'm
You
me
wanted to leave. You were trying to
me
figure a way out how to leave, right?
me in a psych ward.
Yeah.
Really, the
What's
fuck?
everyone gonna think? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Holy shit, this is the
Mm.
end of it.
And I had so much going on in my life. I had a knee surgery scheduled with my ACL. I had divorce proceedings. I had to find a fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I was like, man, I need to get the fuck out of here. And the only way I'm gonna be able to get out of here is if I actually like do,
Fake it till I make it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
do what they want me to do.
Yeah. for sure.
Go to the little counseling sessions, go to the group, and go fucking color and
Yeah.
and whatever. And like,
Sing Kumbaya,
yeah.
which is like
And sit in the
actually
room
real.
and
Like,
sit in a room and talk.
yeah, that's what you do. You like sit around in a circle and it's,
And my whole life I wasn't lying about that,
yeah,
dude. I wasn't
me
about
neither.
talking. I wasn't about airing my shit. But then I got to talking to some people in there, and it's like, holy fuck, dude, they've been through some shit,
Yeah.
and I've made my problems feel very minuscule.
Hmm. So it's like a huge eye opener.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
And then you start to take it a little more serious when you
Yeah,
start to hear
and so
stories.
yeah, so when I got out, I got discharged, and um not by because of the week was over, but because I put the mask on, I faked the funk
Yeah.
and requested to leave because they wanted to keep me there longer for an
Right.
additional 14 days. I
Yeah.
was like, dude, you're no. But anyways, and that continued the journey after that was when the really work had to start. Um, I was in therapy consistently. Can't say that I fucking was perfect or didn't have setbacks because I did.
Well, it's life, bro. You know what I mean? You're just finally realizing you got a mental health problem
Yeah,
that's like
and
bipolar, and who else knows? You know what I
yeah, I
mean?
got diagnosed with stuff that, which is weird because that kind of brings up the fact of like you're a product of your environment, right? Like I was going through all of the shit and all of the things and was like, and at that point in time, I was like, dude, there is something wrong, and I just want to fucking know what it is.
What do you mean by like product of your environment, though?
Well, because
Like,
I was going through so much shit, and I was like, dude, I don't know how to cope with any of this stuff.
yeah.
Do I have an actual diagnosis? I That was one of the big reasons as to why I even like, okay, so now I'm out of the hospital. It's like now, okay, I reach out to the VA. I'm like, I want in a legit mental health evaluation because they didn't do it when I was in the fucking institution.
No.
They didn't do it. They just
Wow.
shoved fucking lithium down my throat.
Yeah. Wow.
And
That's it. That's dude. Hearing that
yeah,
enrages me.
yeah,
That's crazy.
to fucking like 950 milligrams of lithium.
Mm-hmm. Here, this pill will fix it. Pop this.
Yep,
Who knows if this is gonna get you addicted? But
yep.
here you go.
Fucked my kidneys up.
Yeah. It's crazy, bro.
Um,
So like,
so that I reached out to the VA and I was like, hey, I had this event happen.
yeah.
Like, I want to seek higher help. And so I scheduled an appointment with a psychiatrist and had an actual full blown like mental evaluation by the DSM-5 by the books. It took like almost 2 hours to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Bipolar, I think it was one. I can't remember the number, which is like weird to think about, right? And I'm like, but at that point in time, I got a diagnosis. I was like, finally,
You're starting to
now,
get some answers and figure it out.
now, I can seek treatment based on that.
Yeah.
Because the entire time that I was going through all that shit, I was like, dude, this is more than just depression. This is more than just generalized anxiety.
Yeah, because look at the crazy stuff that's going on with your life. Like
Yeah.
the chemical imbalance, like that just doesn't happen to normal people, bro.
Right.
Like,
And so that ties me into like, you ask the product of your environment.
yeah,
There was so much chaos and insane shit going on. I was a product of that.
yeah,
I didn't know how to cope with it. So I was showing signs and symptoms of all of bipolarness, of
yeah.
the highs and the lows and the high risks and the
The
um
mania.
yeah, the symptoms of going into episodes
Yeah,
and pushing people away and treating people a certain way. So I was a product of the chaos.
yeah, that makes sense.
And so going through all of the therapy and learning, and then I went into trauma therapy for the first time and actually legitimately had to process my dad's death.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that was a pivotal moment. I learned
Mm-hmm.
how to do that shit and really accepted all that stuff. Um, and then when all of this stuff, and then another slew of bullshit with
So like
that,
life keeps happening at
it
this
did,
point, right?
it
Because it's
did,
not gonna stop. Life's
it
not gonna
did.
stop, bro.
15 months of fucking divorce proceedings and court stuff, and
Right.
then a
So like,
toxic relationship on top of that,
yeah.
an insane relationship that I should have never been in. That brought out the worst in me, and that was a slew of shit. But when I got rid of all of that, and I was like, okay, product of your environment. and I prayed. And when I was like, I'm not gonna talk to another female for the rest of my life.
Because
Like,
of the codependency, right? Because it's like you
well, I just
be
didn't want to deal with it. I was like, dude, there's no way. Like, I'm not dealing with this shit ever again. And then I met Katie.
yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. You know,
Shout out to
and
Katie.
yeah, best things ever happened to me.
Yeah. Answered prayer, honestly.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but I prayed for that gentle love. I
Yeah.
prayed for no more chaos. I prayed for a peaceful environment.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, right? Like,
Life is just
like
improved, right?
exactly. So the moral of that product for your environment is like when you start to like look at you, man. Like, you know, you hit your 1 year, you're going to church, you're going to your meetings, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're a product. Your life is a product of the positive steps that you're doing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's like if you're struggling, mental health, I mean, you're struggling with anything, but the focus is mental health. And like, if you're struggling with that, like, you can't just expect the bullshit to go away. You can't just expect the elephant to leave the fucking room,
You
right?
got to put the work in. You got to treat it like it's an actual disease and it's an actual sickness and illness
Mm,
and not just like, oh, this will go away. You got to like, dude,
no,
it's like cancer.
it's not
You
going
got to
away.
do chemotherapy for cancer, right? You got to do mental health for mental health,
You
bro.
got to go
Find out
seek,
what works for you.
you have to seek the help. You
Yeah.
have to get, like, you got to go fucking talk to
Yeah.
someone. And as hard as that
For sure, bro.
is, and when you first start it, it is fucking hard. It is hard to accept the fact, like, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big struggle for me, big hurdle. Like, I'd go to therapy sessions and just be like a fucking stone wall, dude. Like,
More faking it till you make it because that's
yeah.
just what you're used to.
And what was crazy is when my therapist, Rob Bates, like, he's a 20-year Army vet, and he'd be like, dude, don't fucking bullshit me.
Yeah.
He's like he would talk to me like that.
Been there, done that kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, dog, don't you ain't
Real recognizes real,
yeah,
right?
you ain't
Yeah.
gonna you ain't not gonna tell me you're okay.
Yeah.
You serious?
But that's what you needed, right? You
Oh
needed
yeah,
somebody like that. There's
yeah.
too many counselors these days, bro, who are just like, I'm gonna write this down and yeah, maybe you have this here. Try this pill. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
I'm so thankful that you found that guy
yeah.
because that was who you needed in
And
your
he
life.
was so him being a vet, like, he wasn't about shoving pills. He
Yeah,
wasn't about one. He's not a psychiatrist, so he's like, I don't want you to be a walking zombie on pills.
yeah,
You know, it's not the way to do it. He's like, we got to unpack all this shit. We got to do
hmm
this stuff. So again, if you're struggling, man, like, you need to fucking go get help. You need to find the help. You need to, one, lean into your support group and into your family, the people that love you, and just admit, I need help. You can't do this shit alone. You can't do your recovery of fucking alone. You know what I mean?
Nope. You got to find what works for you. I found what works for me, bro.
Exactly.
I go to church. I go to my 12-step meetings, Narcotics Anonymous. And I go talk about my shit. I go talk about how I feel. And it's all these people that you're around, recovering addicts, and they're all not. It's a judgment-free zone.
Mm,
They're not going to judge you for what you do.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like, you found Rob, you found your counselor who was like, bro, I've been there. Real recognizes real. Let's talk about this shit, unpack it, and this is how we do it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, love that. Love hearing that.
Mm,
You know?
yeah. So that was just kind of my struggles with mental health. And it's like the one thing too is like, even when you do get through all of it and you're on the other side, and dude, I have preached that so much, right? So fucking much that your journey of the struggle, the storm, that shit could last months or it could last fucking years. But people, but then become comfortable with the storm.
Mm-hmm.
They just go, it's fucking raining again.
Yeah.
It's fucking raining again. And it becomes a norm. And then you ignore it and you ignore it and you just push it and you put the mask on and you just get good at that.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, dude, that is not the way to fucking live,
You're right.
because there's so much more to life, like to wake up and be happy and have some self fucking worth,
Yeah.
dude.
For sure.
Because you're like, when I was going through it, man, I would, dude, I have pictures. I mean, I was fucking fat, didn't take care of myself, didn't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could never, I try to wrap my mind around of like, dude, I can never go back to that. Like, just as much as you could probably be like, live on the streets. What? No.
Yeah, dude, because we don't like think about that kind of stuff. Like our brains are not like focused on like positive, getting better. Our brains are focused like, okay, this is how life is. I'm just gonna continue to do this because it's easy, it's normal. What normal? Because you're going through that shit. You know what I
Right.
mean? But to other people, it's like, dude, what the hell's going on? Like,
Hmm.
it seems crazy. It seems chaotic, right? But like in that moment, it's not because that's what you know,
Yeah,
right?
and
So
that's
like
what
for
you've
you,
been.
you didn't give a shit about your health. You didn't give a shit about anything. How what you did. But now look at you. You got a regimen, bro. You go to the gym.
Mm,
You eat healthy. And those are
some
just like
somewhat.
all the little things that you do on a daily basis to make sure that your mental health is
Yeah,
good and check.
yeah.
So like
And
I
what
give you props for that
and what's
because it's not easy.
it's not, but what's crazy too is like when you actually do the work and you become healed and you do all the things, right? You then find yourself in situations that typically would cripple you.
Mm-hmm.
Like your mom could probably sit here and nod her head about it, but like
Yeah.
dealing shit with like co-parenting for me
Yeah.
was a massive trigger, and I would go off the fucking handle. And I was so wrong for doing all that, and I accept fault and responsibility because I've told her many times like I accept responsibility for all the shit I put you through because it was my fault.
Yeah.
But now I could deal with it differently.
Yeah.
I could deal with my dad's birthday differently. I could deal with Father's Day differently,
Yeah. Which
in
we
a
talked about yesterday, right?
in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I could deal with his death anniversary in a healthy way,
Yeah.
and that's when you know all of the bullshit you went through, all of the fucking times you didn't want to go to therapy, and all the times that like your therapist like challenged your ass to open up
Mm-hmm.
was worth it because you worked through it, you processed it, and it's like you presented with the situation, you're like, I'm good. Or then if you feel a certain type of way, because even with the studio and the podcast and just my business and like I've questioned myself multiple times of
Yeah.
like, should I be doing this?
Right.
It's not fucking worth it. I'm
Yeah.
not worth it. I don't deserve this.
Right.
But it's like, and then I lean into my wife.
Yeah.
I go, babe.
Your support.
Yep. I go, babe. Should we be doing this shit? Do you think this is gonna fucking work out? And she's like, yeah, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
She's
this
that
is this
positive
is where you need to
influence.
be.
Yeah.
So the journey's worth it, man.
Dude, I agree 100%. Like, love talking about mental health. I love talking about how much you've grown. You like, everybody has a story, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and mental health is so much bigger than a stigma, like your shirt says. In the stigma, mental health awareness, because there's just a lot to it. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot to mental health that leads to other. Like for me, it was addiction. Addiction was my coping mechanism because of my mental health. The trauma that I wasn't able to unpack. The guilt, the shame of making the mistakes I did when I was younger. Just stuff like that. Like couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Couldn't deal with it because I was taught to man up, just like you, bro. Man up. You're gonna make it through this. Cowboy up. Pull them bootstraps up and go on. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it was hard for me to express how I felt and talk about it. And that's just it's the reality of it. We
Right.
we don't want to talk about it. We just want to just shut up and move on.
Yeah.
And so like this is why I love this podcast because this is an opportunity for us to really share and help other people.
I know there's people out there struggling, man,
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
that are putting the mask on, going to work every fucking day. That because guess what? They got a family to provide for, you know, and they're the sole provider, and they can't
Yep.
give up. They
Right.
can't not go to work. They can't. So I'll say this: if you're able to wake up and just wake up, you're gonna be all right. Don't give up. Don't let temporary circumstances or feelings that you're fucking feeling right now lead to a permanent situation you're not able to come back from.
Yeah, because once you make that decision to finalize that or that impulsive, just I don't care anymore. Yeah, you can't take it back,
Don't
bro.
yeah, don't let the switch flip, man.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
I've
say.
I've lost people to suicide, man. People I've served with,
Yeah, I can't imagine, bro.
people that I've known. We've even had a classmate that we lost, Virginia Valdez. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Shout out, dude.
Yeah,
That's wow.
rest in peace to her.
Tragic.
Like when you look at that, you look at the people that have we're I hate saying successful because like suicide and successful I think are just,
Yeah, that's a
but
weird line.
when people do it
Complete
and
suicide. Yeah.
complete it,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, the first question everyone asks is like, well, I wish I would have known. I wish I could have, or I wish I could have done more,
Yeah.
or whatever. And you can't. Honestly, as hard as that is for me to say, you can't. You couldn't fucking save me. Your mom couldn't save me. No one could have saved me in that moment. Not a single moment. Not a single person. Because the switch was flipped.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. It's so fucking dark and it's so quick. In an instant, nothing else matters
Right.
at all.
Yeah. No, I get it, bro. I get it.
Like, so when someone completes it, we find ourselves as the ones that are left behind, beating ourselves up. And you live with that.
Mm-hmm.
You live with the guilt. You live with, like, I wish I would have talked to him more, or I wish I would have lived closer to fucking be able to reach out and touch him.
Yeah.
But you can't. You
Yeah.
can't live with that guilt. You can't um, hang your hat on that and think that you're responsible because you're not. Um, that was a decision that they made. The devil had their hand on them, and the devil won.
Yeah.
And
No,
it fucking sucks.
I agree. But like one thing I will say about that is like be better. We need to be better as human beings. You know what I mean? Like there's so much hate in this world right now, bro. So many people just like to blame everybody for everything else. There's so much blame, there's so much hatred. Like be the example of love. Love everybody and just spread kindness cuz you never know who you're going to help, bro.
Right.
Like
And, don't be afraid to fucking, like, just talk about. I think a lot of people are scared to, like, if someone's reaching out,
mhm,
right? And they say, well, I'm really fucking going through this and I'm doing this. And then, because what tends to happen is the person that's reaching out will be negative and negative and negative, and the person that's on the receiving end, they're trying to be like, no, dude, you're not a piece of shit. You're like, we love you. And
mhm.
that person responds, no, the fuck I'm not. Right? I'm a piece of shit. I did this, this, and this. And so then the person that's like trying to talk them through that, you're like, well, everything I say is not, it's not clicking.
You feel like you're being defeated.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, dude, why do I even try? No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Keep doing it.
Yeah, keep
Keep
trying.
trying. Because what that person's doing on the other end that's having those thoughts about themselves is they're just essentially testing the waters to make sure that you're there.
Crying out for help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cry for help.
Yeah.
Because then what's going to happen is if you get so reluctant and so like, well, no matter what I say to them, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Then that one moment they reach out and you don't reply is going to be the moment that the next phone call's saying they're gone.
Right. Yeah.
So we touched about that in our first episode. Love you from a distance. I love you. I support you. Be ready when they're ready.
Right.
Right. So
Because at the end of the day, like I will say this as well, like you got to wake up every day saying like, look, I have a mental health disorder. I have bipolar. You know what I mean? I struggle with this and I know this. I realize it. Right. So like, what are my triggers and what can I do to like make sure that if I have a bad day, you know what I mean? I'm not going into a low, you know what I mean? And so you realizing that and you having like now Katie to be there for you, you know what I mean? And that is just amazing, bro.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish like everybody would find their person because, you know, I think that's key. You know what I mean? Like I have my support group, I have you, I have my mom, but like, you know what I mean? Like I battle it every day. There's days where I'm just like, dude, it'd be so much easier just to go get drunk or high. You know what I mean? Like, but like then I think about all the damage that it does and all the hurt that it does to people, my loved ones, and like I start to like put them first instead of like thinking about myself. Stop being selfish. There's people that love me and just like
But that's the healing side of you.
yeah. No, it's hit yeah, it's like progress, not perfection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
So yeah, man. I think that's mental health, dude. It needs to be talked about more in a serious light, and don't be afraid to fucking address it, man.
it
Like,
doesn't
don't.
discriminate either. Like you're a human being. You got there's gonna be problems. You're a human being. If you have mental health and you're feeling some type of way, you don't know why you're feeling some type of way, like reach out.
Yeah.
come talk to us.
Mm.
Come on this podcast. This podcast is like what we're doing to spread mental health awareness. You know what I mean? And like that's what needs to happen more in the world we live in.
Yeah.
More love, less hate, more awareness. You know what I mean? You've got a story, I've got a story. I think God put us together, you know, like as friends, best friends, so that we could, you know, take over the world when it comes to like mental health, bro. Like I am living proof of like that I can do it, and you are too. You know what I mean? My journey just started, but you've been on this journey for like 3 years, 4 years. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yep. No, that's the goal of the podcast, man, is to help people.
For
right?
sure, bro.
And to get people on here that maybe have different, again, everyone's story is different. I think the next guest, you know, like Taylor Schroet, she's a mental health therapist, master's degree. And so it might, you know, I would like to get her on here and pick her brain.
Get her perspective.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Her
Of
opinions.
like her professionalism and her studies and, you know, her education and all that stuff behind it.
For sure.
Because then she might be able to shed some light in that aspect. So
educate people a little more. Huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Not just and her story of why she got into it, how'd she get there, you know, and that process too. So that's what this podcast is about. So that's episode 2 in the books, man. I think that was
that was some good knowledge, bro. That was some good. That was some fire. I love you, bro, and like I can't wait to keep doing this. And proud of you. I'm so proud of how far you've come and everything you've accomplished, and just blessed, man, and grateful.
I appreciate you, bro. So
right.
that's episode 2. Chime in, stay tuned for, you know, coming episodes. You know, we got some stuff planned. I think a big one, another one we got to do is like a day in the life of an addict. POV, like your first person, you know,
for sure,
and talk about what you did during the day. Talk about where you slept. Talk about just the people you met and the shit you did, dude.
All the dirt.
I think that's a lot of so to caveat into future episodes, and maybe that's episode 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. But that's what this podcast is gonna do. We're gonna talk about real shit. We're gonna talk about real stories, and we're gonna have real people on it. And support the podcast, man. Share it out. We appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that's giving me the love and the support for the channel. It's been unreal. It's been cool. I think your episode's been downloaded almost 70 times already.
Yeah, bro. Like we got so many people that love us.
Yeah, dude.
And like, dude, we're so
sometimes I don't feel
blessed.
Sometimes I don't feel like I don't deserve it, man. I really I truly like, dude, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did.
Don't let the devil lie to you, though, bro.
Right, but it's just something that's like, man, like it's a grateful, humbling position to be in.
Yeah.
I'm not famous by any means. I'm not saying that, but the love and support that's been poured over me with the avenues I'm going and the studio and just life in general has been unbelievable. I can't even put it into words, and usually I'm pretty good with words, but it's humbling. It's very I'm grateful, man. Forever grateful.
No,
so
you're like, dude, you're so like with you, it's you're humble. You know, you're a humble, grateful. Yeah, you don't do it for clout. You don't do it for likes. We're not doing this to get famous, but we're doing this to like humbly spread awareness and help people. And that's it, bro.
I hope it grows far and wide, man. So, you know, whether you're traveling to work and you're chiming in on the JBR experience, or you got your headphones in at work, man, I appreciate you freaking chiming in and listening. And, you know, until next time, we'll keep doing this damn thing and just sharing stories, man, because everyone's got a story.
Go tell somebody you love somebody today.
Yeah.
It's Father's Day. Like, reach out to your dad if you don't talk to him. Send a text. Say a prayer.
Yeah.
You know, church this morning, it was fire, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my things is I like going to church. Like, with my mom on Sundays, hearing the word of God, you know what I mean? Like, God is like, I don't know where I'd be without God. So, like, if you're struggling to like, decide to reach out today to somebody like your father or father figure, do it. Do it. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're thinking about them. Say that you're praying for them. Do something today, and don't just sit there and be a lump on a log. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, take action. Be better.
Yep.
and just spread love.
Yeah, bro.
Love, not hate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
All right. Till next episode, man.
yeah,
We'll
bro.
fucking catch you guys on the flip
Love you,
side.
bro.
Love you too, bro.